All right. Hello, everyone. We're back at you with another episode. And on today's episode, alongside Bianca Léger, we interview an Akashic Records reader, line activation guide, workshop leader, and host of the Line podcast. Welcome to the Winner Circle, Ashley Wood.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for showing up, Ashley. We're so excited for this conversation. Well, I am.
I'm excited to share as well. I am just grateful to connect with new people and new communities. So thank you for inviting me into your circle.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
So the goal with these conversations is to uplift, inspire, and empower all those tuning in to this frequency. And it's a very positive frequency that we're trying to emit. And it starts as such with this first question. Ashley Wood, what do you love about your world right now?
My world, oh my, everything. I love my world. I love my life. I feel love every day simply by connecting with nature. I live outside of the city, and honestly, I wake up with gratitude every single day. I really believe that we choose what we see. Truth and reality are subjective. They are what we see through our eyes, how we receive, how we interpret. And ever since I was a child, I've always felt love everywhere. I remember being a kid and like asking my parents, asking my friends, being like, do you feel the wind like that? Like, do you feel this? Like, I remember walking over the bridge from Osborne Village going toward like the ledge and just stopping and actually feeling the energy of the water. And I stopped on the bridge and I closed my eyes, and I was with a friend. I think I was like 18 years old or something. And I closed my eyes and I just said, I'm like, do you feel that? Like, do you feel that frequency? And people looked at me my whole life like it's a total alien. Like, what are you talking about? But I really do feel like we live on this planet of life. We live on this planet of love. It is such a miracle and a gift to be here. And we are here to grow our soul. We are here to evolve our consciousness. And every single experience we move through, one, we're never, ever alone. Energetically, we're connected to all of the life around us, to our energetic support, to animals, to other people, to other souls. Like, we're never, ever, ever alone. We're so supported. We're so guided. We have so much love all around us. But also every experience we move through in life, every single experience is planned, first of all, by our energy, like pre-planned before we come into this life, planned for the growth of our soul, the evolution of our being, the evolution of our consciousness. And so everything we move through, we have the opportunity to take responsibility for it. And we have the opportunity to move through it with grace, with trust, with love. This doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. This doesn't mean it's not going to hurt sometimes. This doesn't mean we're not going to feel a wide range of emotion, because we're designed to. Emotion is part of the human experience, but we can receive everything as a gift, a spiritual experience, as love, as just a way to be more present, a way to slow down, a way to listen to ourselves, our highest selves. Honestly, like I love every part of my life, every single day, everything that I feel, everything, even when I'm in a moment that's really challenging, I say thank you out loud. I'm like, thank you so much for this experience, to move through it, to grow, to strengthen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And gratitude is a vibration of love. So we can be feeling like anger, frustration, sadness, everything. And the moment we bring gratitude into it, like, we're complicated beings, so we can experience many emotions at once. But the moment we bring gratitude into it, it's a vibration of love, and it shifts everything. It shifts everything. And so I'm grateful for every moment of my life.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to get a clarification here. The word love has come up many times already. What does that word mean to you? What does love mean to you?
It is the very thread of our being. It is our essence. It is the energy that makes us. It's our prana. It's our life force energy. It connects us to the sky above, the earth below, connects us to ourselves, our heartbeat, our energy, the energy of other people. It's so far beyond just a romantic love between two people, or like I have a daughter, the love that I share with her. It's like it's our life force energy. It's the heartbeat of the earth, the heartbeat of us. It's our essence. So it's an energy to me.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So the common world talks about love like you see in a Hallmark movie, or like the love for your daughter, the love for your pet, the love for your friends. Is there a difference between a love for your friend, a love for your daughter, a love for the world, a love for the animals? To me, I think it's all one.
Yeah, I believe it's all one, but there's of course different expressions of it. It's kind of like if you make 5 different meals and they're all really delicious, but they taste different. Like they're just different expressions of an energy. But we are all one. Like we are all made from the same energy. And when we can see each other with that connection, that is the energy of love. But there are many different forms and expressions of it, of course.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Why do you believe there's different expressions? Shouldn't love for a homeless person on the street be the same love you have for your partner, for a tree? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's going to feel different because are you cuddling up to a random stranger on the sidewalk, like at night? like love is going to feel different. Like it's going to take different forms. There is that same like love, that the energies that I channel in the Akashic records, they say love is the thread that keeps us together. So it's the thread that's woven through us, the thread that's woven through all of us, but it's going to take different forms and be expressed differently based on the connections that we hold with other people, because the love that I feel for my daughter is not going to be the same kind of love that I feel for a romantic partner, right? Like the soul contract is different. The connection is different. The purpose is different, but it is still love.
Very interesting. So one question that we all ask all guests here, so we get to know them better, is their mission. And the mission is something that is always changing, but it is consistent with whether that be a professional life or personal life and everywhere in between. So right here in this moment, what is your current mission here in this reality plane, Ashley?
My mission, which the way that I understand that, I guess I'll clarify that first, is that we all come into this life with a soul purpose, and that purpose is to understand that we're energy in a physical body that need to feel emotions, need to go through experiences. We all have unique gifts. We all have unique talents that support our purpose and our soul expression. And then above that is the soul mission of like, what kind of mark will you leave on this planet? What will you create to give to others that will outlive you? How will you really serve as an energetic being? And so through my company and my work and what I do every day, and not just like when I'm sitting at my desk working, but also how I interact with people, is to inspire them to trust themselves, really hold up a mirror of what is already within you. I hope I can reflect back to you, because that's how we live. We live through a mirror. So it's to inspire people to trust themselves, to listen to their messages from their highest self, to live a soul sovereign life, to lead themselves, and then also in connection with the Akashic records and the energetic messages that we're getting every single day, the guidance that we're receiving every single day. I would love for people to trust themselves, to listen to themselves, to come back to themselves. Because when you're at home with yourself and you feel that connection to yourself, you're not triggered and threatened by other people because you're comfortable within. And therefore you can share with others. Like you can have conversations with people who have a different opinion than you, and you can meet them with love, and you can be curious, and you can allow yourself to be grown and inspired. And all of this comes back to the connection that we hold with ourselves and the ability that we have to listen to ourselves. And so that is my mission. I mean, I was told in the Akashic records that my mission is to modernize the Akashic records and make them accessible and have them as like a less esoteric thing, but an energy that we understand, that's accessible for all of us. But really that comes down to just listening to that guidance that you have. And if this is the first time anyone has even heard this, and at this point, if what I'm talking about sounds like I'm way off in the ether somewhere, it's just that inner voice that you have, that intuition, that whisper, that gut feeling, that inner knowing. I mean, you can call it so many different things. I've connected with people who would never, ever, ever call themselves intuitive or anything like this, but they'll say, oh, I had a gut feeling. I knew that. I had a gut feeling. We all have this guidance. And so my mission is to remind people of that strength, of that power that they have within, and to listen to it, to honor it, to lead themselves, to come back to themselves, to not look out at other people for what to do, but to remember just how much they hold within. When you return back to that, the way you show up in the world is entirely different. It's from such a beautiful place of connection and harmony.
Mm-hmm. So let's examine the origin story of how you connected with the Akashic records. When did that process take place? When did you bring that into your awareness? And how did that evolution look like?
Well, it's somewhat of a long story, so I'll shorten it a bit, but I was born, like as a child, I had energetic gifts that I didn't understand, but my grandma was my first spiritual teacher. I mean, I grew up in Morden, Manitoba, which is like a small conservative farm town. So the fact that I had a grandmother who had tarot cards and crystals and read tea leaves and everything was not common, but absolutely planned. But she was the only person that I knew who had any, like at that, when I was a child, it was just so normal to me. Like I didn't know any different. But as I grew, I realized that things that I saw, things that I dreamt, things that I understood was very different than other people around me. And I learned how to really keep it quiet because it was something that made me feel a little bit insecure. People called me weird sometimes. I just didn't talk about it at all with anybody. And I mean, as I just said before, we all have a purpose. We all have unique gifts. We all have medicine and expression to share with the world. And when you suppress that within yourself, no matter what that is, it doesn't feel very good. And it can feel like you're wandering aimlessly through life. And I'm sure many people listening can understand what this feels like when it's like, I just don't know what job to work. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Like maybe I'll do this because all my friends do this, but I don't like it. Maybe I'll do this because all my friends do this, but I don't like it. And for years, I was like a professional job hopper. And I would get a job and I would be there for like 2 years. And then I would go and do something entirely different. And then I get a different job and I'd be there for 2 years and then I'd go do something entirely different. And this was from like being a server in a restaurant to working at MAC Cosmetics to working at RBC Royal Bank to doing like, it was just, I was like hopping all over being like, I don't know where I fit. I don't know where I fit. Meanwhile, still having these energetic gifts, but really suppressing them and doing everything I could to not go there at all. And then I got pregnant and while getting like after I got pregnant and I told my employer at the time that I was going to go on a maternity leave, I was told that I would no longer have my job to come back to. And so that was terrifying. But also at that time, something really incredible happens. And I've talked to so many women about this, but when you have another soul in your body, like energetically, things shift entirely. I know so many women in our community who have shared with me that it's a spiritual awakening to carry another baby. I know Manik Pantel, who you had on your podcast, her and I have talked about this so many times together, about just how incredible it is to have another soul within your body, and how that activates you and brings you into this whole different understanding of energy and your soul and yourself and your path and your journey. And so I decided to just surrender to losing my job. I was like, this is fine. Like something better is going to happen. This is fine. And I'd always wanted to work for myself, but I had no idea what that meant or what that was going to look like. I was food blogging at the time and having a lot of success with it. Like I wrote a column on Cameron Diaz's website for 4 years and did so much work with like amazing people, but I didn't feel connected to my work. Like I was like, I don't like this. It still feels like a job that I'm doing for other people. And so things were shifting and changing, and I could feel that. And then after I had my daughter, I no longer could pretend like anything that I didn't like, anything that I was just forcing or like moving through, anything that was inauthentic just fell by the wayside, like it had to. And so I stopped food blogging. And in connection with all of this too, my energetic gifts were just like expanding in such a way that I didn't really know what to do. Like it was a lot. But one day I received a message to start a podcast, and I thought, okay, that makes sense. Like I like to talk. Sure, I'll do a podcast. And I started my podcast on food and wellness, even though I didn't want to food blog anymore. It was what I knew and what I had been doing for 4 years. So I started to talk to other food bloggers and other food photographers and stuff. And then I was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And then I got a message that actually brought me back to seeing a psychic in 2012, which is so interesting because astrologically, Jupiter was in Aquarius in 2012, and it is now, again, it's just about to leave Aquarius. It's been there since the Great Conjunction of last year. And so it's a whole cycle. But while I was seeing this psychic in 2012, she said to me, one day you will have a large audience and you will be sharing your energetic gifts with these people, and you'll be talking about spirituality. And at the time I looked at her and I started laughing. I probably turned like 10 shades of red, and I was like, yeah, right. And I was like, no way, I'm not telling anybody about this. What are you talking about? But after I started my podcast in 2018, I heard her voice and it came through, and I had forgotten about it entirely, but I was like, right, that's this. What am I doing? Like, this has to be about energy. This has to be about spirituality. And so I pivoted immediately, having no idea what I was doing, also feeling so vulnerable. Like I was naked in front of thousands and thousands of people, having no idea what I was doing, but I'm like, it's fine. I'm just going to tell people what I've experienced my whole life. I'm going to talk about what I see, what I feel, what I know, and also that I'm learning and figuring this out. And I have no idea where this is going to go. And so I started the podcast, and I started having people, or I shifted the podcast and I started having people come on who were energy practitioners, healers, so many different, like I had like a numerologist, I had someone who works with crystals, I had Reiki, like all these different things that I knew nothing about. But as they were talking, it was like bringing me back. It was like a remembering within myself. And then one person said to me one day, you should read the Akashic records. It's going to change your life. And it felt like lightning going through my body. I was like, what's that? And she said, you need to be reading the Akashic records. And I said, I've never heard of that, but tell me everything. And she's like, well, here's this book. Go get this book, read it. And that's all you need to know. So I went to get the book that day, and I read maybe a quarter of it. Then I was told, put the book away. This was all within a couple of weeks. Put it away. You don't need that. That's a distraction. Open the records. And so I did. And my life changed within that moment. I knew it was never going to go back to the way it was. We all have these experiences in life where we make a decision and we're like, there's no going back now. Like I have changed everything. Giving birth to my daughter was the first one. And then opening the records was the second one. And from that moment, which was April 1st of 2018, by the end of 2018, I had built a 6-figure business on Akashic record readings internationally. The podcast had grown so much. I had gone down to Los Angeles and done a lot of work and met a lot of different people. And the next year, things kept growing. By October of 2019, my husband, who we've now actually separated, so we still own a business together. We started our business Align Within in 2019 of October 2019. And then from there, it's just been like, it has been so fast. Like we have created courses and workshops, and we've taught, I don't even know how many, well over 1,000 people around the world now how to read the Akashic records, and they've started their own businesses, and I still do readings, and we have so many courses, and 2022 is bringing in so many new exciting experiences. And yeah, it's been quite the ride. But this is what happens when you honor yourself and your messages and allow yourself to get really deeply uncomfortable by taking risks of like, what am I doing? That you just let that happen, because you're so divine. Every single person listening to this is divinely guided. And every single person listening to this has a life that has been planned by their highest self that is like beyond better than the mind and the ego can plan. And when you allow yourself to surrender to that, you're constantly surprised, and it's so beautiful and it's so exciting. And life is just this most amazing journey, which brings me back to the first question as to why I answered, I love my life, because I love my life. And that's what the Akashic records brought to me.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I have many questions that I want to come from that, but just a very brief one. What was that book that you read a quarter way through that recommended you, that kind of begun this process of unlocking the Akashic records? What was that book that was recommended to you, in case any listeners are wanting to pick up that book themselves? Or do you recommend a different book? Or
I don't recommend that book, even though I honor Dr. Linda Howe for being my first teacher. I didn't even complete the book, so I can't even fully, like, that book was a stepping stone for me. But I know many people in our community where it hasn't been supportive for them, because it was written a long time ago and energy has changed quite a lot. She received her prayer. And I mean, like, she's so inspiring to me, what she has created and everything. She received her prayer to open the Akashic records when the planes were hitting the Twin Towers. Because energetically, when a big shift is happening on the planet, although the collective and the media want to focus on the dense energies and the catastrophes and the tragedies, and I mean, if that's where you want to put your focus right now, there are more than enough opportunities to feed that energy within you. But at the exact same time, when the contrast grows wide, more and more and more light and love and these higher energies are pouring into the planet. So as the planes were crashing into the Twin Towers, she received a message, sit down and write this down. And it was a prayer to enter the records, to enter the heart of the records, is what she called it. I used that prayer. It's called How to Read the Akashic Records by Dr. Linda Howe. That's the book. I used that prayer until April 30th of 2020. Was it April 30th? No. Yeah, it was April 30th of 2020. Right, because that was another time. I'm like, time right now. It's like, I don't even know. April 30th of 2020, I was sitting down to write my book. My book is coming out at the end of May of 2022. And I was sitting down to write my book, and I heard, write this down. And I received a prayer of how to enter the records, because at that time in April of 2020, there was a lot of chaos in the world. Like, everything had just locked down in March. In April, it's like, what's happening? Like, how long is this going to happen? Like, go on? Like, there was a lot of chaos, but also a lot of energy coming through. And I know Purnima, who you've had on this podcast too, she received her Reiki symbol like a week or something after or before I received this prayer. Like everything was coming through at the exact same time. And so this book, you can absolutely get it if you feel called to it. Like if what I just said, How to Read the Akashic Records by Dr. Linda Howe, has a little spark within you. If you're like, I'm curious, I want to know that, go down to chapters, it's there. But I have developed a course on how to read the Akashic Records, a video course online where I will sit with you and walk you through it, teach you everything you need to know on how to have your own individual practice, also how to build a business if you are inspired to do that, how to build a business reading for other people, and not just reading for other people, but like we have people who have done this course, like realtors who learn how to read the Akashic Records for properties, to know the energy of a property before listing it. And we've had naturopaths who add this as a service with their patients to understand the physical and energetic body before prescribing something. Like so many different people, yoga teachers will open the records before a class, and then like there's just different direction in how they're teaching yoga. So it's not just sitting down one-on-one reading, it's understanding the energy of a person and how to best support that person, or the energy of a group and how to best support that group. Yes, our course costs more than a book, but it's also, if you are inspired to make that investment into yourself, you receive so much support. You're added into a Facebook group of this, at this point, over 800 people, where you practice readings on each other. And it's a life skill. So if you feel called to get the book, get the book. If you want me to teach you, go to our site, ALN Within, and I'll teach you. And then I also have a book coming out in May of 2022 that you cannot get yet, but you can next year.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And
You're welcome.
So much of your origin story that you talked about, there's many places, many forks in the road where you could have stayed stuck and not stepped into fear. And that's where many people get stuck. They're feeling that inner calling, but they're afraid. They're afraid of moving forth because of the shoulds of society, the shoulds they've been taught by their parents, religion, culture, school. And they don't listen to that must. They don't listen to that inner knowing, that heart feeling, that gut feeling, and they don't progress. What helped you push past that fear? And the first one you mentioned, just letting people know that you're having these visions, these thoughts, and then your confidence to change careers, to become an entrepreneur. Many points of the road, you face fear and you move forward. What allowed you to do that, and what advice would you have others on that path that are feeling paralyzed?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, you're never stuck. That's something important to know. And even if you're at a point right now where you're like, I've been quote unquote stuck for years and there's no way of getting out of this and I'm doomed, you're never stuck. You're an energetic being and energy is constantly moving. So you are fluid. Things are always moving. And when you begin to pay attention to the opportunities you have every single day to start listening to yourself and trusting yourself and just having fun with it and almost playing a game with it, it doesn't have to be a massive life change right away. But let's say you go to get coffee at the exact same place every single day. You order the exact same thing every single time, but there's something within you that's curious of like, well, what's that like? But then still, when you go to order, you're like, well, I just get the same thing every time. Like, just start having fun. Life is supposed to be fun. Life is simple. I mean, honestly, right now I'm moving through a separation and I'm going to be selling this house. I'm buying a new house and like all these different moving pieces. And I'm still smiling and saying life is fun because it is. This is an experience. Has it been hard? Yeah, of course, but it's an experience. And you can start small by just having fun with these messages that come through. Do you drive the exact same route every single day? Try a new route, like switch things up. The moment that you make a tiny change in your day, in your life, in your routine, you're changing your frequency. You are an energetic being. The moment you change one thing, you're changing your frequency. The moment you change your frequency, more and more opens up for you. So you are never, ever, ever, ever stuck. You're never stuck. Sit in stillness for 5 minutes every day. That is something that everyone needs to be doing. Do not have your phone unless it's on a meditation app or music and you put it far away. Don't look at it. Just sit in stillness. Close your eyes, listen to your breath, sit in stillness and slow down. Slow down. This changes your frequency. Like 5 minutes is it's so minimal. If you can increase that to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Meditation is something that is so powerful that we all can do, and we make the excuse to not do. But when you quiet and just listen into yourself, listen to these messages that are coming through, you're not stuck. You are never, ever, ever stuck. The way that the ego has been taught to me in the Akashic records is very different than the way the ego is discussed. I don't know, the way I had understood it. The ego is primal energy. It's our human energy. It's our self. And the ego is the reason that we have evolved, that we continue to survive as a species, because the ego wants to keep you in the exact same pattern. The ego wants predictability. The ego wants to feel like it knows exactly what's coming. And so when we are in ego patterns, and yes, we've heard like being egotistical, it's your ego, it's this, it's that. It's like, well, whatever pattern you're currently in, whatever filter you're operating life through, whatever you're carrying with you as like, this is how I live, this is who I am, this is it, not allowing any movement or any flow within that, you're stuck in an ego pattern. It's okay if that's where you are. It's human energy. We can use our ego as a teacher. We can allow ourselves to observe our ego. And this is something I'm aware of all the time. What is my ego trying to keep me in? When I get a message that is asking me to step out of my comfort zone, to do something differently, to grow my soul, to have a new experience, what is my ego trying to do? How is it trying to keep me in a certain pattern? And this can be so minimal of a thought pattern, an emotion. Let's say that your instant reaction is to feel triggered by somebody else or to judge somebody else. That's an ego pattern that you're constantly playing out over and over and over. Oh, it's so easy for Ashley to talk about all this because she must have had a really easy life, a really easy upbringing. She must be like, just have this support system around her. That's amazing. It must not be hard for her. She must not have to try. I want to listen to someone who's had the struggle. These are all judgments that people can place on another person. And that's an ego patterning. So how can you think differently? That is something that takes us up out of those moments of feeling stuck, is just, how can I do this differently? Mm-hmm. How can I reframe this? How can I think about this differently? And we tend to think that we need to make all these massive changes in order to see growth and changes in our lives, but they're actually these teeny, tiny little changes within ourselves, within our thought process, our emotional management, our energy management, that shifts everything. And so to answer your question, Derek, when I just like from the time I was a kid, I could not betray myself. Like, it's just impossible for me to betray myself. I will get physically sick if I start to listen to my ego. My body will like reject me. Like something will happen if I fall into an ego pattern. And I'm a human, so of course I do, and I'm not always aware of it. But it's not possible for me to not listen to my soul, and for me to not follow through when something comes through of like, you have to do this. I know I've signed up for this life to, I don't want to say to be a leader, but to show others the way through an example of myself, because all of my work is through my own lived experiences and the work that I have experienced through, like I'm an experiment and I create from my own life. And so I need to remain as authentic with myself as I can, and as clear with myself as I can. But I'm not special in this way, because we all have this ability to shift and to change. We're supposed to change. We're not supposed to stay the same. We are made of energy, water, and matter. 2/3 of us moves. We're not supposed to stay the same.
Mm-hmm. So much of this wisdom you've shared has come from an inner knowing, an intuition that you've felt. But have there been key mentors and helpers along your path that have taught you? And who were these individuals, and what were the key takeaways that you've learned from them and incorporated into your being, Ashley?
I would say literally every single person that I've met, because we see life through a mirror. And so everyone who has inspired me, I've taken something from that because it's reflected back within me, something that is within me. Anyone who has hurt me, it has reflected back something within me that I need to grow and heal. Anyone that has triggered me has reflected back to me where I'm in an ego patterning, where I need to come back to myself. For someone who I really look up to and respect, she's no longer physically on this planet, but it is Guru Jagat, who created Rama. I just think she is phenomenal, a thought leader of this time. She left the earth very early because her spirit was so large that she could just exit and still be here. She passed this past August. She's definitely been so inspiring to me. I would say that she is and I never actually met her. I did teach at Rama a couple of times, but I never actually met her. But honestly, just people in my everyday life. Like, I don't put people really up on a pedestal. Of course, I've taken bits and pieces from so many people, but I'm just open for receiving from everybody. Every interaction that I make, every connection that I have, there's an exchange. Like, I deliver and they deliver, I receive, they receive. And this is the beauty of connection, and that we are all connected. Like, we're all connected. And so everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Bianca, I know you're biting to ask some questions. You've been so quiet, so I'm gonna allow you some space, Bianca, to just kind of.
I'm learning so much listening to you, and I resonate with a lot of what you're saying. First, I love your perception of this experience, and I feel a deep connection. Listening to your podcast has been a big gift to me, and we really hear the magic in your words. And one thing that I'm wondering, for a lot of people, you talk about giving and receiving, and like you mentioned, we haven't been taught to tune into that internal guiding system. How do we start? I know you have some programs on clearing the line. So would that be the first step for somebody who's trying to receive? And we have all these messages inside our bodies, but how would you describe the experience of translating these messages in something we can understand? How do we do that with feelings? How do we speak feelings?
Yes, beautiful question.
Yeah.
Beautiful question. And thank you for asking this. I haven't even explained what the line is. So I'm going to very briefly just say what the line is, why the business is called Align Within, what this even is. The line is an energetic frequency that we all hold within us. So it is literally the energetic line that runs through the midline of our body. It enters our body at the crown of our head, runs down the center, and then kind of splits and goes down our feet, exits into the earth, and then comes back up into the body. So this is an energy pathway. It's behind the chakra system, is how I've seen it in people, behind the chakra system. And this is an energy frequency, a pathway that's within our physical bodies where we receive our messages. So our messages, our intuition, come from the Akashic records. And I won't go into a huge explanation of that to get to the answer of your question, but the Akashic records are the history of our souls. So every single experience you have ever had, in every life you have ever had, because we've all lived hundreds, if not thousands of other lives. Every experience you have had is energetically stored in the Akashic records, and it's stored through your emotions. So our emotions are how we energetically communicate with the Akashic records. Any emotion you feel, even if it is so subtle, even if it is subconscious, even if it lasts for like 0.5 seconds, whatever you feel is imprinted into your Akashic record, which think of it as like the iCloud. If that feels really like esoteric or out there, think of it as the cloud. Like how are all my files saved on the cloud? I don't understand. Like it blows me away sometimes how it works. So your emotions are energetically imprinted into your Akashic records from every life you've ever had. Now think of yourself as the planet Saturn. And I want to make sure that I'm being simple here. You're the planet Saturn. Your physical body is the planet Saturn. And every experience you have ever had in all of your other lives, the emotional memory of that is orbiting around you like Saturn's rings. Okay. And so we can access these memories, this information, these knowings that are connected from our past lives through emotion. The energy that we're receiving, our intuition, everything like these messages, they're coming from our Akashic records, our soul history, every single second of every single day. It's like simultaneously, it's always coming. It's like faster than the speed of light coming down the line into our bodies so that we can receive this guidance. And it comes through our body as energy first. Then it goes into the earth beneath our feet to be activated and brought into the physical. And then it comes back up into the body for us to receive in this physical realm. But because we communicate energetically through our emotions, when these energies are coming into our body, our messages, very often we feel them as emotions before we can even understand them, because they're coming through the body first as energy. And this is why sometimes it's like, I'm feeling something that I don't even know, I don't understand. When we begin to look at our emotions as messages and allow ourselves to understand our emotions as messages, our emotions are communicating with us, our physical body is communicating with us, it gives the invitation to not suppress emotions. There's no such thing as a bad emotion. It's not wrong to feel sad or unhappy or low vibe or anything. Like you didn't call this in. Like the manifestation community has painted an unhealthy picture of this, in my opinion, of if you're having a challenging time in life, it's because you called it in and you can't be low vibe and you can't be this and you can't be that. You're being given an opportunity to learn, to grow your soul. Like it's all for learning. And so look deep within your emotions. These are messages, there's guidance within your emotions. How do we receive? Like you talked about our workshop, Clear the Line. Yes, we can energetically be very distracted and cluttered to not understand what's happening, because we live in a time where, and it's been like this for a long time, but it is not only acceptable, but almost encouraged to distract yourself, to numb yourself, to pull yourself away from yourself, to not feel, to be safe and healthy, and keep to not feel, essentially. Like it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to sit feeling incredibly uncomfortable without like grabbing your phone to try to distract yourself or numb yourself. Or if you have a physical pain in your body, not taking a Tylenol right away to try to numb the pain. Like we need to connect into these feelings of contrast, into these experiences of contrast, and not try to distract ourselves and numb ourselves from them, because there's messaging and learning within that. I could go on such a tangent right now, but every physical illness or ailment within the body begins as energy first and then manifests into physical. So there's an emotion that is attached to it, something that is happening within the energetic body. There's a message there. And if it is suppressed and ignored, it will manifest into physical. That's our body talking to us. We need to pay attention to our emotions, to the way our body feels. These messages that come through, like when we say the word intuition, sometimes people think that has to feel like this like sparkly, really exciting moment of, oh, I knew that intuition. But it's like, these messages, this guidance that you receive can be so simple as just like, oh, sit down and write this email right now. Or I need to drink a glass of water before I do this. Or, oh, I better pay this bill today because I have a moment right now. And if I don't pay it right now, tomorrow I'm probably gonna be really busy and I'm gonna forget. Like they're so subtle. It's like these little subtle stepping stones that carry us through our life with ease. The pinnacle who I channel, the energies I channel, they said when you listen to your messages, it's like you're swimming, your life feels like you're swimming through an ocean of ease. This does not mean it is easy, but there is ease, there is trust, there's guidance. When you do not listen to your messages and distract yourself and numb yourself and pull yourself away from yourself by the very many ways we can do this, you're thirsty forever. It's very uncomfortable to be thirsty. But what they mean by that is you're constantly looking outside of yourself for information about yourself. So you're like comparing yourself to other people, or you're in the rat race of trying to keep up, of like having the newest iPhone or this or that. Like there are so many ways that we can pull ourselves, away from our messages, away from our guidance. But it is so simple to just listen. And this all comes back to just slowing down, being still within yourself, curious about yourself, listening to what's coming through. But since you mentioned as well, our workshops, Clear the Line, there are 4 of them. It's our foundational program. And I recommend it to everybody really, because it goes through very basic things of, first of all, releasing fear about yourself. Like so many of us are afraid of ourselves, and we carry fear for so many things from childhood, past lives, to a lot of people in our community are even afraid of their own gifts and afraid of what it looks like to actually step into their power. Like, what is that going to look like? It can be very intimidating. And then we talk about gaining clarity on your messages, of like clearing this energetic clutter. It's like very practical stuff in that workshop. It's like a life skill. I feel like it should be taught in high school. And then there's one about trusting yourself, and one about living in the line, which is like your purpose, your gifts, being in the world in this new frequency, listening to your body, the connection between the physical body and the energy, emotions, so much. They're packed workshops. I hope I answered that question fully.
Yeah, absolutely. You've opened so many doors for listeners here to step through. But one thing that will come up time and time again, and that's resistance. And author Stephen Pressfield describes resistance as that negative force in that world that keeps us from fulfilling our dreams. What are your strategies at overcoming resistance? That resistance that keeps us from meditating that 5 minutes, that keeps us from putting our phone down, that keeps us from picking up that book, that keeps us from signing up for your course. What is your relationship resistance, and how do you overcome it daily?
I would answer it the exact same way as an ego pattern. Like it's the ego. It's the primal human energy of trying to stay safe, of not experiencing something new. The ego does not want new experiences, because the ego wants to keep you safe and consistent, even if safe and consistent means unhealthy and destructive. The ego wants to be safe and consistent. And so I simplify that by just ego and soul. Ego and soul. What is the ego saying? What's the soul saying? Okay, listen to the ego. Thank you. Now put the ego on a shelf and keep moving forward. Like listen to it, acknowledge it. Why is that coming up? Why do I feel this resistance? Why do I not want to move forward with this? Sit with myself and love myself for that, because that's my human energy and I am a human. So let's just love my ego for that. And it's not a bad thing. It's there for a purpose. Learn from that and be like, all right, well, how can I move forward? Now, it's important to the 2 things that I talk about, the space of allowance. Everything happens in divine timing. The ego can sometimes want us to rush and want to control things and manipulate things and make things happen before they're actually designed to. If we do this, we can end up taking on more than our soul and nervous system is actually ready for. And so if something really feels like it's something you want to do, but it's not the ego holding you back. It's just like, I want to do this, but I need some time. Like I need to give myself what I call the space of allowance. I just need to give some space of allowance right now and just let myself feel comfortable within this before I make this move. Absolutely do that. There's no rush. Everything happens in divine timing. Even if it feels like you're rushing something. I'm just going to read the Pinnacle, who I channel. They give alignment tips every month. And for 2021 December, the last alignment tip was steady to and fro. This is how you go. As if you're tiptoeing along a log from one side of the stream to the other, keep your balance, remain focused, present, aware. Rushing ahead only causes you to slip. It's okay. The water is shallow. It is warm. You are still protected, but keep your balance, steady to and fro. This is how you go. Remain in motion with focus and balance. This is the pattern for you to know. Everything is always going to happen in divine timing. And so if you are listening and you're thinking, I'm holding resistance right now, I'm afraid, I'm not ready to move forward, even though I know I want to, but I'm just not ready. Honor yourself for that. Like love yourself for that. Just even being honest with yourself and admitting I'm not ready to move forward, but I know I have to at some point, that shifts your frequency because you're not in denial. Like just be honest with yourself, love yourself for where you are right now, and allow the time to come where it feels comfortable, still slightly uncomfortable because you're growing, but where it doesn't feel like I'm going to be falling off of this log and into whitewater rapids. I have no idea what I'm doing. Allow yourself to feel like, okay, I'm going to make this move. And if I fall, it's just warm water. I'm going to be okay. Like this is going to be fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
So much golden wisdom shared, Ashley. And we were talking about timing, and I want to be responsible with your time. So I just want to ask you one final question before I let you go about your day. And that is, through all the highs and lows, that is this journey of life, what has been the single greatest life lesson that you've learned on the path thus far that you feel called in this moment to share with us right now?
Be present. Just be present within the present moment. Everything's okay. Everything. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bianca, closing words?
I'm so grateful. Your presence here is a gift, and I'm so grateful that you're sharing your energy so generously for all of us to enjoy. Really, it is a pleasure. And yeah, I want to say thank you.
Thank you so much for having me and for holding the space. And it's been a very fast hour. It went by very quickly. It was wonderful. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. For anyone wanting to connect with you, Ashley, they could find you on Instagram at ALN Within. Your website is the same, ALN Within, where they could access your Clear the Line course and many other courses you offer. Anywhere else where I could send them?
Our podcast, the Line Podcast, you can find that on Instagram, like in the links, and also on the website. But there's a weekly podcast on Monday. Every Monday there's a new episode, so connect there for more.
Right on. To close every episode, we bring our fist into the circle, the winner circle, in unity.
Thank you.
Boom. Yeah, thank you. And that's a wrap on today's conversation. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank you, Bianca.